We're here with PJ from Cleveland State. PJ, thank you so much for your time, and for sure, like the international students are gonna be very interested about your esport program. So tell us just an intro question, like when was the program established?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me on. This was really great. We're always looking for international students to join our program. We
Mhm.
have a couple of our international students in our program right now, and they absolutely love it. So we'd like to expand. We'd like to keep growing, and obviously bring in some really great quality players from outside the United States for sure. So our program initially was established last year. We just completed our very first year. We've made some waves. I think we made some great headway this year. The program was kind of expected to be a little bit smaller, but we just grew so quickly. There's so much interest in Cleveland. Northeast Ohio has a really great competitive scene, and then Ohio itself has a really great high school competitive scene as well. So we were able to grow pretty quickly, and really get established. So we currently have 5 games that we compete in, and looking forward to some good competition next year.
Nice. And how did you get started in Cleveland State? Like, it was a bit of your background and how you got there.
Yeah, so my background's a little bit weird. It's definitely not a straight line to esports. So I went to college and I majored in Catholic theology. So I taught theology at the high school level for about 15 years, and then a few years ago, the principal of the high school that I was teaching at said, "Hey, what about this esports thing? Is this something you want to try?" And I said, I don't know, I'll look into it. So I was teaching seniors at the time, and I said, hey, this group of seniors that I like, I was thinking about looking into esports. What do you guys think? Like, oh, if you do esports, we will win Rainbow Six. There's no question we're going to win Rainbow Six. And I was like, yeah, you guys don't know what you're talking about, but maybe we'll think about it. So we got the team started. We threw these guys on a Rainbow Six team, and they ended up winning a national championship. So it was actually pretty wild. So I fell backwards into a little bit of success, but then the other people kind of started crawling out of the woodwork, and they started to come to the high school I was teaching at, and we just built this program up and was really successful.
Nice. And what was the first like initial like reaction of the Cleveland State administration when you presented this project? Were they open for it? Do you have to convince them at all? Like, how was it?
Yeah, that's a great question too. It was actually it's a little backwards. So as I was teaching the high school, we had a lot of success. um, Cleveland State is where I got my master's degree from. So I have a master's degree in sports management. And so I saw that they were looking for an esports director, but I knew they didn't have esports because we'd been contacting their club teams a couple times.
Hmm.
And so I just called down there and said, "Hey, what's going on with this position?" So they said, "Yeah, we're looking to start a varsity program. We want to be in athletics, and we're looking for somebody to build this program. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know what esports is, but we're looking for somebody who really does." And so I applied, and the rest is kind of history.
Nice. And just out of curiosity, why did Cleveland State decide to start as a varsity program and not as a recreational and hopefully build up? Like, was it like the students were interested in competition? How did that happen?
Yeah, so the Cleveland State actually had some really good club teams. There was a really great League of Legends team that we were able to actually absorb their
Hmm.
senior year, which was this past year. That we knew they had some great Rocket League teams and some great Rocket League players that had just recently graduated, but there was still some groups around, and then there was a really great Smash Brothers club too that had some success. That was pretty well known in Northeast Ohio. So going into it, those were some big programs I really wanted to get into, and we were really fortunate to be able to have these clubs already existing. And then athletics just said, hey, we really want to make this something that we can recruit for, we can build up our school with, and then become a little bit more well known in Ohio and be able to compete with some of the other schools that are doing really well too.
Nice, nice. So currently, like esports is under athletics. You think what are your predictions in the near future? Do you think like there's gonna be oh
Oh, sorry. I don't know if I got disconnected or you did.
okay.
Just say the question one more time. I
That
apologize.
one edited. Don't worry. Like, what is like so currently like the esports team is not athletics, but what is your vision? Do you think like it's gonna have its own department? Because it's like Harley, you mentioned you have 5 video games. So it's like 5 different sports. Like
It is,
everything
yeah.
is a world. So like, and as you are adding more teams, like it cannot be considered just a sport like esports. No, it's it's several video
Yes.
games. It's very different training schedule, ways to train. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, so a lot of schools that are around us, I love talking to other directors just about how their programs started. We have Miami University is in Ohio as well. They were really big program when esports was starting off, and they're actually in academics. And then you have Akron, who's another really great program with some really great directors there. They're actually in recreation and student life, and then we're in athletics. So it's a little bit weird about how each of these programs is starting up, but I really like the aspect of athletics because we have some really great support. We have a lot more people that are involved, you know. So for example, like recreation, you really only have your esports coaches. Athletics, we have a strength and conditioning coach, we have a personal trainer, we have athletic directors, we have social media people, we have, ticket sales, we have different amenities in different rooms and different spaces. So I think being in athletics is really good. But you're spot on. I don't really look at myself necessarily as a coach. I look at myself more as like a mini athletic director within esports. Where I have to coach 5 or 6 different games all at the same time. It's not possible to be able to coach all of those at the level that all my guys are playing at. So it's really just trying to direct people, making sure that they're showing up to practices, games, making sure everything gets scheduled, making sure we travel to where we need to go and where we need to be, and then just doing some VOD reviews with the team and making sure that they're enjoying their time.
Nice. So you also get do the students also get those that that like LAN experience like in tournaments? So like, is it all year round? Tell us a
So
bit about the experience. Yeah.
yeah, no, we get to do lands.
Yeah.
Like I said, Ohio is kind of a weird hotbed for esports right now. The surrounding areas that we're in, like some of the surrounding states, have some great tournaments too. Like Michigan's really great. We know Kentucky had some really good stuff. Illinois has got some great stuff going on.
Mhm.
Pennsylvania. So we're kind of surrounded right now. Like the Midwest has got some awesome stuff. So we get to go to Columbus, which is about 2.5 hours from Cleveland. We've been there maybe 7 or 8 times this year. All of our teams were able to compete in at least one in-person event. But going into next year, we're going to join some conferences. So we're going to join a local conference that's all in Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio. That we'll be able to go to Columbus and compete against all those schools. And then we're also going to be looking to join the Midwest Conference, which has a lot of Illinois schools, Indiana schools, Ohio, and be able to compete in those as well. So we're going to travel multiple times each semester for each of our conferences, and then also be able to compete virtually in another league.
Nice. Is there like also are there players in your team like with an ambition to go pro, or is it more like going to college, get an education, and using esports to like uh, their passion as they study? What are the players' objectives?
So I think most of our players are really just looking for education. A lot of them are coming in, they're looking for a great program and a degree, and we're all using esports to grow them into young men and women, right? Like we're going to try to use esports skills to be able to help them in the field. Obviously we have some very skilled players who would probably love to go pro at some point in their careers, but like you were kind of mentioning earlier, I know we were kind of talking a little bit, like most of the players primes are when they're 16, 17, 18 years old, and so by the time they're coming into college and they're graduating at 23, 24, it's really difficult to be able to find that path. But we have some people that are really interested in trying to take on a role like I have in directing. We have some people that really want to do like content creation and social media and be able to help teams, broadcasting. So I want to say yes, that there's a lot of people that are interested in going pro, but a lot of them are interested in trying to get in some different career paths around esports. Like we just graduated, one of our captains of our Valorant team just graduated from the law program, and he's interested in getting into esports law. So like writing contracts, intellectual property, helping young players be able to make sure that they get money and that they're treated fairly.
Nice. And when they graduate, do you work like closely with companies in the esports program to like create those pipelines to get them jobs when they graduate, or like
Yeah,
internships while they're in college for them to get their job in that company potentially?
Absolutely. So right now we're actually partnered with the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is our basketball team and it's our NBA
Hmm.
team. So they own a 2K team that plays out of our facility. So we share this space together, and the owner of the 2K team and the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers is Dan Gilbert, and he actually owns 100 Thieves. So we have some really cool connections with
Hmm.
some very higher ups. We also have worked with the Immortals a little bit. So we definitely have connections there for people that want to get into professional esports. We can make those connections for you.
Okay, great, great. And this question is more for the parents, but like, what happens if one of your students is like struggling with classes? Do you get him like off practice, or do you reduce his practice? Like, how do you make sure like you also like do like study sessions as a team? Like, how do you make sure the students get their academics up, and also at the same time like maintain a good practice?
That's a great question. And this is another one of those amenities that makes us really strong for being in academics. So, across the board, if you're, I'm sorry, in athletics, if you're an athlete on campus, you have an option to be able to go to study table. So, study table is a space that athletes can only go. Um, they can fulfill a requirement of 4 hours a week to just to go in a
Mhm.
special space in between their classes. So let's say, Ivan, you're at Cleveland State and you have a class at 11 o'clock. That class goes till noon, and then you don't have another class till 1. Well, you can go to study table and get an hour of your study table requirement done. We mandate 4 hours a week for any new players and anybody who's below a 3 point. So I'll get periodic checks for who did complete study table, who did not complete study table, and then I'll also get bi-weekly updates on everybody's grades. So we can contact professors, we can get people out to tutors, and then being able to make sure that they're getting their study table done as well.
Okay, sounds great. Also, like the like can students get to the facility like all day around, or there are certain times they can go to the facilities? How does it work?
Yes, that's another kind of question where we are still a little bit of in a growing stage. So right now our
Okay.
facility is actually off campus. It's about a 7-minute drive
Okay.
off campus. It overlooks Edgewater Beach, and if you've ever looked at a map of Cleveland, we're right on the lake area. It's an enormous lake that we sit on. So it is off campus. We don't have a space that students can go to 24/7 just yet. Right now we kind of have a time block, but we're hoping that either next spring or the year after that we'll actually have a computer lab space on campus that students will have access to 24/7.
Nice, nice. And just to have a picture, and for the listeners here to have a pictures, like what would be like a day to day of a student, like both like with class uh, and and the practice schedule? How
Yes,
do
so
you?
it actually is it's almost like a part-time job, is one of my players told me this past year. So wake up in the morning, let's say your first class is going to be at 10 o'clock. So you might have 2 classes that day or 3 classes that day. So you might go to your 2 or 3 classes, maybe go to study table for an hour, then you go get lunch. You can go hang out with a couple of your friends in the student center. But then if it's one of our workout days, you're going to go lift. So we have a special esports workout plan that we have through the Cleveland
Mhm.
Clinic. That we have a strength and conditioning trainer who will give a certain plan that our players have to follow. So if it's a workout day, you're going to go to your workouts later in the evening. Then you can get showered up, get ready to head out, and then you're going to go to practice at 6 o'clock. And then we're usually wrapped up by about 9 or 10. So your game days and your practice days, they're a little bit longer, but then we also offer some off days for our athletes as well.
Great, great. And this is important because it's just, so like when you're in an interview, like when you're interested in a player because you see all the stats and everything,
Yes.
but when you're in the meeting with the player, like what are you looking, like what are the soft skills are you looking in the player for him to like, how do you picture how do you picture like the player being like boy, let me rephrase the question. It's 9:30
That's
p.m.
okay. It's okay. I got
here.
you.
No, no, but like, so you have the interview. Like, what soft skills are you looking for in order to develop the player for the next 4 years?
Yes, I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
Obviously, their rank in game is just a really small piece of what we look at.
Hmm.
We actually have a Discord that we're going to set up for any of our prospective students that they can actually play with some of our captains or some of our other players. They can talk with them about any degrees or things that they're kind of interested in, and then they can just play some games. So obviously, we're looking to see communication and the way that they talk to some of my
Hmm.
other players, and the way that they handle themselves when they get into a game with our players. We look at their like are they toxic, are they really good sports, are they easy to talk to, how big is their ego, and
Hmm.
is that ego something that's a positive benefit where you kind of get the team hyped up, or is it one of those things that you kind of make it all about yourself and it kind of is bringing the team down a little bit. So like tilting or maybe not really doing very well and kind of being really upset during a game is something that we obviously look at. So I think like communication and personal skills are one of the really big primary factors that we look for incoming players.
Okay. And what are the standards? Like, what do you expect from the players as like a code of conduct? Like, how should they behave and represent your program?
Yes, that's a really important one for us. Um, Obviously we had to deal with a couple suspensions this year because of some inappropriate postings of some things. So we
Hmm.
want to make sure that our social media is always really positive and clean. Obviously, we're not going to control what you post, but you also have to be accountable for the things that you do post, right? So just making sure that you're putting yourself in positive light because you're not only representing yourself, you're not representing Cleveland State Esports, you're representing Cleveland State as a whole. Obviously showing good sportsmanship to the other team, not being toxic, not saying things that are inappropriate during the games or after the games. We want to be friends with everybody. We want other schools to say like, yeah, Cleveland State, they got a really tough, they're a really tough school, but all their guys are really good people and their coach is a really great guy. You know, so we have those kind of standards. Like we really just want a good community where people feel comfortable. They don't have to worry about being judged or being on a team with some really egotistical people. We try to stay away from.
Yeah. So before a meeting with a potential player, you always look at his social media and if he has a bad rep and stuff. No, that's very important.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So I usually try to do my homework a little bit on some incoming players. So
Hmm.
we do use like a recruiting website that we'll look through too, and we'll have some other people that'll reach out and say, "Hey, this player is really good." But that's one of the first things we do is we go check their social media. If they're posting some inappropriate stuff, um, we usually have to talk to them about those. Like, why is this something that you're posting? Is this something that you're going to continue to post? Is this going to be a problem for us? And if it is, then yeah, you could be the best player in the world, but that's not really what we're looking for at Cleveland State.
Nice, nice. You mentioned like you have the varsity team, but do you also have like a JV team and like a recreational team? Well, like Cleveland State started as a recreational team, but like do you have the JV team as well for those players that are not there yet, but like can are willing to develop?
Yes. So right now we have two teams for each game is really what I was trying to aim for. So we have a varsity team and then we obviously have our JV teams. And then what we're trying to establish this upcoming year is our club team. So if there's any games that we'd like to add, like I know we have a
Hmm.
Call of Duty team at the club level who's starting to get pretty good and they really want to be a part of our varsity program. That would be a really easy expansion for us because they have already met up. They've already been working really hard together. So that's something that we can easily add. But we want to continue to develop that club program and then be able to cycle those players through Cleveland State, not only get a really great education, but then eventually and hopefully become a part of our athletics program.
Nice, nice, nice. And how are you making like the students at Cleveland State like come to the esports program? You mentioned also like you have content creation, broadcasting, like social media. Do the players do that, or it's like outside students that have a passion for gaming that are involved in the program also? How does it work?
So some of them are our players. Some of our players really like to do the broadcasting and the shoutcasting. They also like to help coach our JV teams. So when they don't have a game, they'll go down and help coach and do a VOD review or something, which is really neat. It's how we improve. It's how we get a little bit better. But we also just have some people, and you know this as well as
Mhm.
I do, that there's just so many different careers in esports that is not just playing the game. But we have a next year we're going to have a manager for our broadcasting. We're going to have a manager for our streaming. We're going to have a manager who's going to run our social media and just our general teams. But these are all people who love gaming, but they just aren't able to compete at the level that our players are playing at. But they still just really have this passion for esports, and they just want to get involved somehow. So we're able to offer some paid positions for some of those players, some of those student workers that we have, and then yeah, continue to hopefully expand and add some more broadcasters. We want to be able to have somebody who's able to shoutcast every single game that we have.
Nice, nice. And also, like, more like in the academic side now.
Mhm.
So some players ask us this, like, on the academic side, do you incorporate like esports or in like some classes, or like do you have a certificate or something? Like, do you do you also give like students the chance to like study a bit of the esports industry?
Yes, that's also a great question. We are one of my biggest things that I wanted to try to do is have that kind of a program. So we're definitely looking to have that in the next 2 years. We've already talked with some different departments. We're just basically trying to figure out where esports is going to fit. Is it going to be in communications? Is it going to be in business? Is it going to be in information technology? Is it going to be in engineering? So we're just trying to see what school best fits that, and then that would be something I would love to be a part of too. I'd love to be able to teach esports and computer builds and networking and some really important stuff like that.
Nice. Sounds great. Sounds great. Well, PJ, I think we covered like e- every question that the students
Yes.
like asked. I don't know if you want to add something else. Where can they find you?
Yeah,
Please,
sure. So
you on the
we
program.
actually we are we're all over social media, and one of the things that we're trying to do next year is just build up some content. So we want to show the world that we're a really fun school. That if you're an international student, you should definitely look at Cleveland State. We have a very large international population on campus, and our esports program also has international students on it. So our social medias are CSU Vikes underscore GG. We have a Twitch, we have a TikTok, we have a Twitter, we have an Instagram, and then my personal Twitter is PJ Farrell 23. So if you want to follow, feel free to like, feel free to send me a direct message on any of those, and I will get back to you for sure.
Okay, PJ. Well, thank you for your time, and we'll stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.